Yeah.
And you can either get mad at it and try and fight it and sort of like beat it into submission until you feel good again, or you can go, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah. It's just icky, isn't it? It's a icky spot to sit in, but the
Yeah.
other side of it, there's such a transformation. Welcome to the Wild Roads. I'm Shona Lee.
And I'm Paula Ivy. Join us for conversations about how we don't do stuff normal.
How we choose the wild roads of life. We want to show you all that's fun and possible, building businesses, making money,
navigating relationships and parenting, things we nerd out about,
and running at our wildest dreams.
All right. Funk.
Fucking hell.
That's what a funk looks like.
Oh, the Ivy. Hi.
Hi.
Oh man, these weeks go so fast. It's so cool. I'm loving it.
It's time.
Love it. All right. To begin with.
Yes. What's your question, Sean?
Your song on repeat right now this week.
My song that is on repeat this week. That's a really awesome question. Well, the song that I've had on repeat this past week hasn't actually been my choice. It's been my kids' choice.
Oh, this could be interesting.
Every time we get in the car, every time I go to put music on, they've been asking me to put this flipping song on. I actually really like this song.
Yeah.
But I've heard it a bajillion times this past week. Is the song The Kids Are Coming by Tones and I. They love that song. And it actually, she's epic. And it actually, hearing it a million times in a row, it really gets you to listen to the lyrics even deeper. And I'm like, I actually really love the message that is in this song, and that my kids are wanting to listen to it over and over again, because it's pretty much like, watch out, older generations, these new kids are coming and they've got stuff to say, and it's time to shut up and listen.
You know what? That is so poignant, like so epic. I've been saying that too for ages. You know, listen, I stand around the bench and talk to my kids sometimes when I'm cooking, like, you know, 17s and 18-year-olds. And I'm thinking, our world is in good hands, man. Our world is in good hands. Like, they're 100%. Across what's appropriate. They're inclusive of everybody just by nature. That's what they've grown up with. And I'm top song by the kids.
It is a top song. I'm actually really proud. And I mean, they're 7 and 4, so they know what's going on.
Yeah.
What's your song?
Oh, yeah. I can't stop listening to Edge of Midnight. So it's a mash of Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Midnight something. And Stevie Nicks' Edge of 17. And it's so good. Like, I can't stop listening to it.
Noting that down.
Yes. I just adore both of those women for different reasons. Stevie Nicks, I've been a fan for her, and like, I'm totally my muse.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, she's my like style god. And Miley Cyrus, just for what she's becoming as a woman, and just their voices. It's such a
constant evolution of Miley is so inspiring.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Like, love her or hate her, but she's always evolving, and
love it. And I think that's what I'm inspired by, is just, you know, she owns herself every step of the way. There's no hiding. It's just like, here I am again in a new identity, a new thing. This is the growth. Like, we're on her journey of growth, and I love that.
100%. It's so cool. Yeah. It's so cool when people take you on that journey with you. And I guess that's a perfect little segue into what we're going to be talking about, which is the funks, getting in the funky town. Because that's the thing, is that when you're in the funks, that's your opportunity to stretch and grow and evolve and shift into something new that's going to come out on the other side of that.
Exactly.
Like the funks are there for a reason, and people get shirty with the funks and they're like, I don't want to feel like this, I want it to go back to the way it was, blah blah blah, I just feel down, it's funky, got to shake this funk. Whereas I love being in the funks in that I know what it's for, but when you're actually in it, it's hard to love it. I totally understand.
That's right.
But when the funks come to town, we're Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch knocking it.
When the funks come to town, there's a song in that.
Oh, fun. Good idea for another song. Yeah, because it serves a purpose, and it's, for me, I know when I'm feeling funky, there's stuff stirring in my soul.
Yeah.
And you can either get mad at it and try and fight it and sort of like beat it into submission until you feel good again, or you can go, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah. It's just icky, isn't it? It's an icky spot to sit in, but the other side of it, there's such a transformation within your soul, within yourself, and what you've learned from it. But geez, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. I tell you, before I did a lot of personal development, the funks that I was in, that could take a month to shake off, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I didn't know at the time, I didn't know that it was something that I needed to sit in and work out what I need to learn from it. It just meant, like, back in the day when I was younger, I would sort of think, wow, what is wrong with me? What type of person am I?
Yes. What is wrong with me?
Yeah.
That was like the record. It's like, what is wrong with you? Get your act together. Like,
exactly. Pull yourself together. Wake up.
Yeah. Slap yourself around the face. Be like, wake up, woman. What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, that's it.
Not helpful.
No, it isn't. And, you know, there was just some awful comments like, are you on your period? Or, you know, it's like, that's the stuff that you got. Like, you know, and it's like, no, I'm not actually, but, you know, I'm obviously going through something. So, but now that I know that we all have these ebbs and flows, we have the peaks and troughs, and we go through these things because something has awakened us, something has stirred a little, you know, something inside of us that we need to address. We need to find a solution to, and work out who we are in that moment. I think that's the biggest thing, is like how we be and how we work through these things, and how we can, you know, who we are as a person and how we deal with it. I think that's because you can go AWOL. You can go.
You can go so AWOL.
You know, you can go. That it's something that I am now feeling very empowered to work through. Now yeah,
definitely, because it like what you said, it's a natural ebb and flow, and when you understand that it will come around again, like, because your energy, it's not natural for you to be high vibe 100% of the time every day for the rest of your life. Like, that's not the ultimate goal of, you know, personal development or becoming enlightened or, you know, being a spiritual person and all of the things. But that's not the goal. The goal is to feel what's coming through you and to, like, harness the power of it, because there's power in the funk as much as there's power in, like, the flow, and, like, when it feels really, really good, and when you feel like you're on the right track and everything's moving forward, and it's just like, you know, money's flying at me and everything's working and people are so happy to work with me, everybody's talking about me and I'm here, there and everywhere, and, you know, content's flying out of my butt, and I just, you know, everything's just working. You're like, yay, this is amazing. And we try and hold on to that. Like, I find that as soon as I'm like, yeah, it's all working, let me hold on to this, is when it starts to go, and it's like, wow, like, holy fuck. But yeah, it comes because it's a natural ebb and flow. Like, you can't have those big, like, expansive, flowy, high vibe states without the low funky, slow moving states as well, because if we're energy and we're always growing and evolving, you need those slower moments for your soul to open up to you and to go, hey, all right, this is what we were doing. We're going to move in this direction now because we're done here. Like, we're done with this. You had a good ride with it. It was amazing. But now we get to go next level with it. Or we could be like, this isn't working for us anymore. We're going to break up with this and we're going to go in a new direction. So you need that slowing down and that, like the quiet, like everything start to quieten around you so that you can really feel into that and go, okay, money stopped flying in and then like people aren't really talking about me right now, or like, this happened and this happened. And now it feels really hard to say stuff because your soul's trying to calibrate to something else. Your soul's trying to open up and show you a different way. It's kind of like, I've lost my words. I don't know what to write anymore. Well, that's great, because something beautiful is opening up. Something beautiful is like formulating and swirling around and waiting for you to recognize it and see it and like pay attention to it to go, okay, here it is. Like, this is where we're going now. Because the longer you ignore that and you try to put a lid on it and you don't look at it and you try and like bypass it and go, yeah, I'll just pretend I'm happy until I'm happy again, then you're kind of missing like what the gold is in that.
Yeah, you're missing out.
And that's when people feel like nothing's changed, because like you haven't been looking at it in the funk.
That's exactly right. That's a massive, amazing point that you just made, because that's when you look deeper. Like for me, when I'm in the funk is when I really look hard at myself, not in a bad way where the language is bad and I'm talking to myself in a bad way, but I'm just processing and working out what the scenarios are, what's happened here, what's at play here. And if that doesn't happen and I pretend it's all right, even when I'm out of the funk, if you stay in that, that zen, that vibe the whole time, it's kind of surface level stuff anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
you're just like doing the things and you're like, yeah, it's good. I just do it over and over again. It's fine. People like it. But it doesn't actually get to, like, I really enjoy being on the ride of it and being like, oh, this is new. This is exciting. Let's try this. That didn't work. Okay, let's do something else. I find for myself personally, there are a few things that will sort of happen when I go into the funk state. When the funks come to town, it's usually either the natural ebb and flow, and before I know it, I'm like, oh, I'm funky again. And sometimes it can take a minute before you realize, and you're like, oh, yeah, here we are. It happens. I forgot. Because when you're all like, everything's flowing and stuff, you kind of just expect it to keep going. And you're like, yep, it just keeps going. Then when it doesn't, you're like, oh, that's right. We do these ebbs and flows again. And then, and then the other thing it could be is that you see something or you hear something, whether it is on social media or whether it is, in a conversation with somebody, and that can either, a lot of people say trigger me, like that triggers me. I think trigger is a very overused word, but it can like trigger a trauma response in somebody, like something traumatic happen and a word or, a statement or even a sound or a photo or something can trigger that traumatic response, and that can put the brakes on stuff and throw you into a funk pretty much in an instant.
Really, there's conditioning. We have conditions. We are anchored to some kind of emotion to some things as well that just pulls us straight back there. And then sometimes it brings up cringy feelings too, maybe of shame or of like
that's not quite trauma. It's being triggered. It's kind of like something is like poking at you in some way, like, oh, that kind of feels uncomfortable. And it can feel uncomfortable because it might be reminding you of maybe something that you used to say or you used to think in a certain way, or it could be even like somebody doing something that you're like, oh, I had that idea, or I've just launched something like that, or I'm creating a course at the moment that's about this exact topic. And then you go, oh,
It's
like
like
they're going to do a better job though, or then you start comparing yourself.
Yeah.
Because I forget who says this. Who says this? You might know, Sean. That there's no. Oh, I think it was Kanye West actually, where he said that there's no new ideas. That
I think
it's people that just inspire each other, and you take that whatever that hit of inspiration was, and then you run with it and you create your own thing.
yeah.
So there's always new creations. There's just no new ideas. It's just what you do with them.
That's exactly right. And I think I love Elizabeth Gilbert's frame on that, like her perspective on that from Big Magic, if you read that book.
Oh yeah.
And that things come to you, that she met a lady that had written a book, exactly the same storyline,
Yes.
exactly the same thing that she had, thought of. And it was kind of like
she didn't do it.
She didn't do it. So the universe gave it to somebody else to run with. And there's just these things are floating around, and you're on these energy realms and frequencies.
Like
and
the wavelength, like you're on the same wavelength with so many other people, and there's so many things floating around, and it's like so often I'll be like, oh, I had an idea for this, and somebody will be like, oh yeah, I've had that idea before too. I'm like, hi, isn't that funny? Like,
so that's kind of what we need to work on, I guess, is when you really think about it and go, well, we can't, well, we can, but we probably shouldn't have ownership over ideas, perhaps. I don't know. So I think that when something does come up and it does like poke you and you do have those icky feelings, how are you going to navigate around it? Because it actually isn't, you didn't invent it, I guess. You didn't, it's kind of not yours, but it is yours. So this is the tricky bit where you need to try and go, okay, how are we dealing with this situation right now?
Yeah, because if you've learned something, chances are other people have learned that too.
Yeah.
It's like you go do a degree in something, you've learned it through that avenue. Somebody else could learn the same things or parts of the things that you've learned in a degree in a completely different context, in a completely different way.
Yeah.
They could have learned it through like a life lesson that they received in some sort of way. And they're like, oh yeah, that's like that time when I blah, 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 blah. And like this happened. And then I learned to do this. And it's like, yeah, you learned that where you studied that at that place. Or, through working with people, or through, trying something and it not working out, and then you try again and you come up with something else that's even better, and then you're like, oh, somebody else created that thing too. It's like, how did you create that? And it could be two completely different paths that you went on. You're like, oh, we came to like a similar sort of thing. I think that it's a funny thing having ownership over an idea, like having ownership over your work and like how you teach what it is that you know. I feel like that's a whole situation.
I feel like we're messengers,
Yeah,
we're messengers where it's just it goes through us. And that's how I look at it. That's how and I don't know whether that's to make me feel better about the situation, or it's just my perspective on it. And so it's how I want to live. That's the energy I want to have, so that I don't have to feel like I have to control, I guess, other people, other things. I let people be people. I let opportunities pass and go. What's meant for me is meant for me.
Yeah.
And if I can
That's
pass
so true.
Yeah.
I feel that too, because I know plenty of times I've created something and then I see somebody else who's like doing something similar, or they've called something very similar to what I've called my thing, or they might be teaching. Like I've had quite a few people say, when they've done courses of mine or worked with me in some way, they're like, I cannot wait to implement this in the work that I do. And like that feels really good, because I'm like, yay, amazing, you've learned something and it's valuable and you want to pass it on. But then at the same time I'm like, but that's my work, you can't just right? But then at the same time I'm like, Paula, take another step back and look at it and be like, where did you learn all the things that you know? It's a culmination of learning things from so many different places and people and events and experiences and all of the things. that it's like, well, you're just sharing your own mix of like all the things that you've learned in this way, and that people, when they come and learn from you, they're not going to remember and embody every single thing that you teach them either. They're going to take the parts which resonate with them, and they're going to implement them in their own way, and then do it with their thing. So it's funny, this thing like, oh, that was my idea, or I thought of that first, and blah blah blah, but it's not really. It's just there's plenty of people doing a lot of the same sort of stuff with the same sort of ideas, but the outcomes are very different. Like the results that they get and the impact that they're having with it can be very, very different. Like,
this is a thing.
Yeah, people can talk about the same thing and have two very different perspectives on it. And like one person can have you cheering for the thing, and the other person can have you not cheering for the thing. Exactly. Going, that's a ridiculous idea. Let's go this way.
I know, that's right. I think too, there's just room for everybody in this world, you know? It's just like, can you imagine this world if there was only one wedding planner in this world to service the whole world, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Not practical. You know, it's not, doesn't even make sense. Like, it's craziness to think that you're the one stylist. And, you know, that sort of thing did come up in my early days when, you know, there was competition in the same town as me. And, but it was like, I did have, you know, early days, I had to tell myself, there's plenty of room. There's plenty of room. There's a lot of people here. And I cannot physically serve every single person in this town. You know?
True.
Yeah. So, it's,
and some clients aren't for you either. Like if you were to, kind of made me giggle when you said I can't service everybody in this town. Oh. Shona, what kind of style are you?
I do have a don't think before I speak kind of thing going on. I'm so open and honest, and it just makes me fall into little traps. But yeah.
But it's like that, like if you want to service everybody, there would be people where servicing them would not feel good for you.
Oh dear. Oh god.
Oh god. But you know what I mean? Like if you were to say, okay, all the customers, all of the clients are mine because I'm the one stylist who gets to service them. Then you would have a lot of pain in the butt clients. Literally. No. Metaphorically. You'd have a lot of clients that you wouldn't like working with. And it would probably turn you into the stylist that doesn't really like helping people, because half the people that you work with are not your ideal clients. They're for somebody else. And that's worse. Yeah.
And that's why it becomes, ideally that's how you feel you want to have your ownership over it. But that's when it becomes like a more of a job and a pain in the bum.
Slave to the man.
It's slave to the man. And it's not soul work. It's not, what makes you happy, incredibly happy inside. And that's why I'm incredibly happy with the work I do and sharing what I do in the world, but also sharing the platform, sharing the arena, sharing the stage with all the amazing other people that have more, less, exactly the same to offer the rest of the world. And I just do not have a care factor for that. Like, I don't. So, but that was work. I had to,
I love that you were in that before coming into the online arena, where the stage is obviously a lot freaking bigger than a small town with a couple with like you and two other stylists sort of thing, so to speak. That I found the same thing in the photography industry when I was, doing photo shoots. It's very much this is my domain, this is my area, don't step on my turf, these are my clients sort of thing. Like, especially in Sydney, there are so many freaking photographers in Sydney, but there's a lot of people, like you said.
Yeah.
Many people need to get serviced in Sydney. Okay, I'll stop it. But it's the same sort of thing. But when you are an artist, people come to you for the way that you see things. They come to you for the way that you see the world, the way that you see beauty, the way that you create beauty. And you package that up and you put that together, and how you see, like, this is one of the biggest things that I've found with working with people online and teaching people how to become their own photographer, is that people come to me and like, teach me how to see the world like you see the world. Like, you take these photos and you can see this beauty. And it's not so much that I'm teaching you how to see like me. I'm teaching you how to see the beauty the way that you see it. You know, we're always looking to learn like how to do this and how to do that. And it's like, okay, well then how do I take a photo like you take a photo? It's like, I teach you how to take a photo, how you can take a photo, because you can't take a photo, I can. And to see people and they're like, oh my God, I just took this photo. And they show me these images. And I'm like, that's inspiring me to now go take some photos like that. Like, the way that you see you and you see your world is inspiring me to look at my own world and myself differently, that I hadn't thought of looking at like in that way before. And I love how artists do that.
Like, that's the turnaround, isn't it? It's kind of like you could have been, the word triggered by that, but you chose a different way to look at it and to be inspired and motivated. So tell me, what do you do? Like, when you're in a funk, say you're in a bad funk, something's triggered you, whatever we've talked about before, or something else. How do you move through? I know it's different for everybody, but how do you move through?
How do I move through? I am naturally like a high energy person. So when I go into a funk, it feels very unlike me. Like, I'm not a calm, relaxed person. Like, I am calm and I am relaxed in my energy, but I have big energy. I love to laugh hard. I love to bounce around. I get excited really easily. All of those sorts of things. If I'm not doing that, I'm like, okay, we're fine. All right, we're fucking down, because that part of me gets quietened down. And I guess because it is so loud and intense and just excited by everything in my life, that my psyche needs these real, like, okay, Paula, let's put the brakes on that. Let's like calm down and just like recalibrate. So when I start to feel that shift, there are a few things that really, really help me. One is to physically move my body. So I go with whatever feels good that day. I'm mad for yoga. I think yoga is amazing and I love it, and I do it most days. If I am in a funk, I'll choose a yoga practice that is slower and it's more intense, like more like yin yoga, where you got to hold the poses and breathe through it and slow everything down. Because I'm like, okay, my body wants me to slow down. So I'm going to help slow down my mind and my body through my breathing and everything. So I find yoga and stretching help in that, but it also helps to remind me to stretch. Like, it's kind of like that physical to sort of connect with the mental things that's going on. So it's like, Paula, remember to breathe and to remember to stretch. Like, this is a stretching point for you. So I really love yoga in that. I also love going to the beach, because the beach is just one of those places I can do so many different things depending on what I feel like I need. And I'll always check in with myself. I'm like, what do we need to do at the beach today? Sometimes when we go to the beach, we just need to sit and cry and just sit in the sand and have a huge cry and just look at the waves and not do anything. Other times when I go there, it's to, intentionally like clear my mind and, meditate. And my favorite way of meditating is to stare out at the waves and just get that into a hypnotic state. Like, I don't close my eyes, I just keep them open, relax the eyes, just listen to the waves, kind of get just into a state and just sort of try and think of nothing. Like, that helps me a lot. And then the other thing is to swim. Oh, actually, there's another one. Swimming, the water. Oh my gosh. If I feel really lost, like, I'm like, I don't even know where to start here. Like, what is this funk? I don't even understand what is happening. Like, I can get myself in such a state where I'm like, but just tell me what it is so I can like look at it. And I can't even look at it because I don't know what it is. I find going for a swim one of the best things. Even if it's a cold day and it's raining or it's windy, I'll still go in.
You are a badass.
I'm like, undressing and I'm in my swimmers. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? What are you doing? Don't do this. This is stupid. There's nobody here swimming. Like, what are you doing? You're a crazy person. But I know as soon as I jump in, that the water does something to my nervous system. It
Yeah.
calms everything down. And I find quite often if I ask myself a question before I jump into the water, the answers come to me because especially when it's cold water, like I was always used to be the person of like, unless the water is 30 degrees and like a warm bath, I'm not going in. But now I'm like, the colder the better.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, it kind of shocks the system.
Yeah.
Even though it sucks for a second.
A second. Wow.
Yeah.
I ruined my whole day.
But even though it sucks for that moment, it's like it kind of shuts up the voices in your head and your body for a second. Like, we're cold, what's going on? It teaches you to like, okay, breathe, we're gonna be breathing now because we're cold. Get through this. And I find that it allows those questions that I've tried asking, and my brain has kind of blocked it because it's so worked up about being drunk that sometimes the answers are trying to get through from like my soul or from my intuition, or
there's a wall up.
I can't hear it.
Yeah,
I can't hear it because it's the wall going, but like it's hard. No. Like you need to shut that up for a second to let it come through. So I find swimming is an excellent one. I do that a lot. And the other one is like I'll go and I'll take photos of myself. I find taking photos of myself really helpful because it helps me to see my body language, so I can actually see, I'm not like my posture's like not feeling it, the way that I'm walking, the way that I move my body. Am I fully expressing and like moving my limbs out as far as I can and holding myself with confidence, or am I kind of just like half-assing it? It's like, all right, cool, there's nothing here. But I find that this is why I have a lot of photos of me doing cartwheels, because I'm obsessed with them. Because one, if I am in a flow state, a high vibe state, they help me to like energize me even more and get more of that energy out, so that translates into a great photo. But two, it's like if I am feeling funky, I love doing the cartwheels because it helps. It's the same with the yoga. Like the yoga is reminding me, Paula, to stretch not only your body, but stretch your psyche, like stretch your perspective, stretch your, willingness to see things differently, and all of those sorts of things. Is that, when you do a cartwheel, you're physically upside down for a second or two. So it's actually forcing you, hey?
And legs out, arms out.
Yeah, like you're opening up your body, and you're actually physically upside down for a few seconds. So you're being forced to view the world completely upside down from a completely different perspective.
I think I'd be like a frog cartwheel these days. For me, why getting out of a funk for me is down to a fine art. Nature, walking in nature. So I don't have the beach. I would die to be near the beach. We're inland. So the bush is it for me. The bush and the river.
The bush is good.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely, the wildlife and stuff. So it's just different. I guess it's very arid. It's hot. And, in the winter it's freezing. But yeah, it's just like I need to walk in nature. I need to be grounded that way. I really feel like I'm a land baby rather than a water baby. So, mountaining, if there was ever a chance to get to a mountain, that would be like, that's just like, my dream to be able to just do that all the time. But yeah, nature and walking for me, because I get, okay, what's happening here? It's just an inner dialogue, and everything that's trying to say, all the ego, everything that's happening, it probably is. It's my war on my ego when I go for that walk, and I really, listen to it, but listen to what it's got to say. But it's like, hang on, there's no room for that.
Meditative, however you say that.
Yeah.
When you're walking, like each step you take,
it's a beat. It's a beat, and it definitely that's the best way. And sometimes there's times when Simon knows something's up, and he'll just say, do you need to talk about it or whatever? And I'm just like, I don't even know yet. Like, I know I'm being a pain in your butt right now, but I don't know what's going on, you know. Bear with me a second. And, you know, I'll go for that walk and I'll come back and it's just kind of like, I know what it is. I know what it is now. Can we talk about it? And or sometimes it'll be that I write, because writing is cathartic for me, and I just write everything. It's almost like a love letter to someone. It's like or it could be a, you did this, or, you know, like I just get it all out.
Yeah.
Stuff, you know, or what if the kids, you know, or their attitudes,
Journaling is
or
awesome.
anything that's inside of me needs to release in some way. That's how I do it. So there's the walking in nature, the writing, and the third one for me, when I need a release, when I'm really sad about something and I can't shake it, when I'm nostalgic or mourning over something, especially, you know, like with the boys leaving home, you know, that's been huge.
That is
They're not boys anymore, they're men. And that just, my release is crying in the shower. I need to get that out. And then I become a normal person again, whether, you know, if you can even call it that, normal person, you know, but
I think that's actually a beautiful thing, because, like, what is a normal person? A normal person is somebody who feels emotions.
Yeah.
Who goes through the ebbs and the flows. Like,
a normal person is when
normal for humans.
When other people call you a normal person because they're happy to be around you. It's about the other people and how they're
challenging their nervous system to be around you right now. So you're normal.
Exactly. That's right. So you're normal. So they get to be happy and feel okay around you. It's when you're not normal, inverted commas, that you know, that they're feeling your funk. They're feeling something's off, and they're carrying your energy or taking on your energy. And that's when it's hard for people. And that's when you know, okay, I need to do something here, you know.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because I find a lot of the time that I will take on the energies of people around me. I am an empath, and I do feel the energies of people around me. So I am quite aware of that, like, especially with my kids.
Yeah.
And my partner, but then also with, you know, my clients and people that I work with closely, like when they're in a funk, it can be easy to take that on. So sometimes it's like, well, actually, a lot of the times it's helpful when I don't know what I'm funky about to actually ask myself, is this mine?
That's it. Yeah, I've had to do that too. And sometimes it's not mine. I'm not.
No, somebody else's. And you're like, okay, I can put it down now. I don't need it. It's not mine.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. So, but I'm learning the tools now. I'm learning the tools not to carry. I've got to let go. I've got to let those feelings from others, especially living in you know, in a house with a family and stuff, is just letting their emotions run through me, but letting them go instead of holding on to them, because they're over it in a minute. But for some reason, it takes me ages to shake it. So I'm learning tools to do that now, and it's definitely going to be a practice.
Definitely. And I also find that with the kids as well, that sometimes they're mirroring things that I'm feeling, because they pick up on my energy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly
right. And you're like, what is going on? Why are you having a moment? We were fine. And then sometimes it's like, oh, what's that bringing up in me?
Ooh. Yeah, it's just like,
they're helping you to go, hey, this energy's floating around. Show it to you.
Exactly. That's it. Oh, the human species. I adore it. I love it. It's, the funks don't scare me as much anymore.
I know, we're so fascinating, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. It's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. I'm so fascinated with it.
And I think that's a big part, is like trying to flip the switch from like being reactionary to it and thinking that, oh my God, you know, I can't come back from this. This is the worst. Or, you know, there's something wrong with me, or I've lost it. Like, that was a big thing for me, was like, oh my God, I've ruined my business. I've lost it. Everything's gone.
Yeah.
It's done. But instead of, you know, reacting with that, responding with curiosity and go, oh, what's happening? Instead of, you know, it being like a whole.
Exactly. It's the curiosity and grace. When you find the grace, then you can respond
Grace,
physically. You know, you can, you know, go back and talk about it with the conversation that you need to have, and you can do that with grace once you've worked through your funk and not trying to respond while you're in the funk. So I think that's the biggest lesson that I've had. And yeah, I think, you know, that's how we get beautiful connections with people and be able to have that, like, keep, you know, strength and strong connections.
Definitely, because I find that that's why I love doing the physical things and embodying things when that happens, because it allows it to go through my body rather than me trying to think my way or try to force my way or get too heady about it. Because I know naturally for me, if once I'm all up in my head, I'm like, yeah, it's like the trains just stop still. And it's like, we ain't going anywhere. Like, we're just going to keep circling around in the same old stories and just making you feel like crap. Blah, 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 blah. You're not going anywhere because this is, that's why I like doing the physical things, like in my environment, like connecting with nature and going for swims and doing cartwheels and doing yoga and things like that. And taking photos. I find taking photos so valuable because that gives me a few things. It gives me a moment to reflect on, like, okay, I can see my energy through the photo. It's not quite vibing right now. So, you know, what else can I do to help shift this? My posture's not right. Okay, what if I straighten up my posture? Is that going to help me feel better for a bit? Yes, it will, because there's studies to actually prove that when you change your posture, you change how you're feeling. Kind of like that cycle of, you know, your thoughts, your feelings, and how you move your body, and it kind of cycles in a way. So you shift one thing and the other things start to shift too. But then it also, I get to document it too.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
I've got something to share. So I'm like, okay, play funky, and this is what it looked like for me. And then, like, when that shifts, I can see the evolution. I'm like, oh, like, I love Facebook memories for this, because it shows you a year ago today that you were thinking about how you're feeling, how you're photographing yourself, all these things. And you're like, oh, look at me. Look how far I've come.
Look how far I've come.
We see how far we've come.
That's
If
it.
we're always forward and we don't ever look back.
That's it. That's it.
So what do you do, like, styling wise? Do you do anything styling wise?
Yeah, if I'm really feeling that I need to be embraced, to it, that I need that cuddle around me, I will create a room to do that. Isn't this is interesting for me? So it's kind of like an altar, but on a bigger scale. It's whether it be my bedroom or whether it be just like in part of my lounge room, I'll change things up a bit, and I'll, you know, place cushions, and I'll put a really nice lamp there, so it's, you know, not the general lighting, so it's, you know, creates that ambience, and have my throw rug and put my gems and crystals around, and plants, things that make me feel nurtured. And
love
I'll
that.
do that. It can be in any room, but I'll just spend that half an hour, an hour, go and find things from all over the house and create something. And then I cocoon myself in it. And I lay there, I can read a book, or I just listen to music and write. But I have that just cocoons me, it nurtures me. It's like I'm being held in my space. And it makes a massive difference. Massive difference.
That's so beautiful. I thought of them when you were talking about is it the lyrebird that will collect all the blue things for its nest?
The lyrebirds, aren't they?
Bird. It's an Australian bird, I'm pretty sure, and it will go and collect only blue things to put in its nest. I'm like, that's so beautiful. It's like collecting all the things that make you feel amazing and make you feel like you walk into a room and like, oh, I'm just going to fall into this hug and help walk you back.
Exactly. That's it. And that's that's how we've evolved anyway as the human race, is to surround ourselves with beautiful things. Like, you know, before floors were invented, women would brush the dirt because that made them feel good, you know, to make that space. We've always done it, and sometimes we forget to do it now in this fast-paced world where there's things going, everything's going on, and we forget about the simpleness and the simplicity, I should say, and the amazing and the beauty in just creating a space to be in. Yeah.
And it can change every day, or even
Yeah, of course.
that actually feels like a hug for me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get to do, you just get to do whatever you want to do, don't you, really, in life, in general.
Yeah.
You
YOLO.
don't need, yes, YOLO. You don't need permission from any mother.
No. All
No.
right.
We should take off. We've been chatting for a while.
We have.
See you on the next ones.
Bye.
Over and out. Bye.
And see.
Wild Rose.
Wow.